Welcome back. It's still Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines in the week. Now let's take you to River State, where some supporters of the All Progressive Congress in River State sustained injuries after an alleged improvised substance exploded at the popular Ibuku field. The venue of the rally in Port Harcourt on Thursday. The injured victims, mostly women, were immediately evacuated from the scene of the incident. The youths were said to have prevented the party from holding the rally at a field located at popular Marwan area of Port Harcourt. The three injured persons narrated the incident to newsmen and were taken to a nearby hospital for medical attention. The River State Police Command, through the spokesperson of the command, SP Grace Arrange Coco, said the incident was not politically motivated, rather the internal crisis within the community over which faction controlled the community town hall reared its ugly head. Well, I still have Joe Iboko in the studio, while Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, Olufemi Lawson, joins me now via Zoom. Good evening, Mr. Olufemi.
Good evening, Jacinta.
All right, it's good to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
Okay, so you know the police came out to dismiss this whole thing that is political motivated. But what can you make of this rancor that just came out of that rally?
Well, thank you for having me once again. Irrespective of what must have been the cause or who might have been responsible for that explosion and that political campaign, I think it is important that we cannot separate such from political violence that we are likely to experience in some places ahead of this election. And why are people targeting political campaigns? Why are they targeting, institutions around the election? Over the past few weeks, it has been attacks on the facility of INEC. It has been attacked on the offices of political, parties. Now it has gotten to the stage of attacks on political campaigns. But why are we having a reoccurrence of these incidences of violence? It looks so much like we are not doing enough to punish perpetrators of violence. And unfortunately, the posture of some of those in government, particularly at the state level, is not also helping. It seems to be encouraging, some of these tendencies of violence, when rather than searching for culprits and bringing them to book, you begin to, define, factors responsible. People were the ones in charge of the community. I would, for God's sake, even a government, justify the fact that there are rival gangs operating in a community where normally you are supposed to be in charge of the safety and security of citizens and their properties. It is a dangerous, dimension to what may likely happen in future campaigns ahead of the election, not only in Rivers State, but in some other states of the Federation. We need to start criminalizing violence during elections, irrespective of who the sponsors are or who the victims are, until we make it very criminal for people to perpetrate violence during elections. We may begin to look at a situation where we may have even worse, scenarios like we witnessed in Rivers State, just a few days ago.
Olufemi, what do you also make of this pattern, political parties and their supporters, the way they are handling this whole thing? What do you make of the whole pattern in this campaign?
Look, well, so far, the campaigns, if you look at the manner in which the presidential candidates have carried their campaigns, you want to agree with me that it has been quite impressive, matured, and of course, we've had few or no incidences of this kind of fracas, even among, opposing supporters of these political parties. But when we talk about election violence, and that is why, as commendable as the initiative of the National Peace Committee is, the truth is that, you cannot but look at the role that the state actors at the state levels are playing in, of course, in the promotion of violence, in this election. you must look at the situation whereby we must look beyond, ensuring that the presidential candidates, are made to sign peace accords, are made to commit themselves to peaceful elections, to also looking at the role of state governors, another category of politicians, in ensuring that there is no violence during this election, in ensuring that there is peace during this election. If we don't do that, you understand, we may, have a situation whereby there will be no.
What is this?
All right, Mr. Lufemi Lawson, thank you very much for your contribution on the topic. Let me come to you now, Mr. Ibokwe. How much is required our security personnel to ensure that this coming election is not being tampered with based on, trying to have this kind of attack come up?
For presidential elections, President will always call the stakeholders, and he will bring in some of the former head of states to speak to them. I think the one was held yesterday. Presidential election proper. We need to maintain peace, go and campaign, issue violence, do the needful so that people don't lose their lives. But I don't know whether it's replicated in the states. Because this kind of thing happened in Rivers 4 years ago. An APC campaign rally like this, and people died. In fact, they didn't even allow them to campaign. The ruling party didn't even allow them to campaign, and they work out their houses. And it's repeated. And Rivers has always been a flash point, a place that you need to watch. Violence is part of their politics there. That's number one. Number two is that in Lagos here, we use surveillance vehicles. I remember in 2007, we went to campaign in the Bejuleki corridor. We have surveillance vehicles that take, store what is going on there. So we were attacked in the Bejuleki, and I think somebody was killed. Other 2 persons were killed. In the evening, we all gathered in Achiwaju's office and opened the record of what happened, and we were able to pick the perpetrators. So the technology is there. All we need to do is to apply it and fish out. While we were doing that, we didn't even know it was such a mechanism was in place. But we gathered in Achiwaju's office in 2007 and opened the video, and we were able to pick them. Because we did that. So I want the states to, adopt it. Federal government always does. They had a meeting yesterday, appealing to the aspirants to manage their supporters so that we don't run into a crisis. So we need to repeat the same thing to.
All right, Mr. Ibokwe, thank you for your contribution.